Gather around the campfire, everybody. Gather around the campfire. Oh, fuck me. Like I said, if I had a Patreon, I would ask you to donate because that's not getting monetized, is it? Welcome back to Fare Thee Well. Let's get ready for the continuation of this game. My eyes moved to the distance ahead, taking in the slow approach of forests and roadside meadows and following the minor, gradual turns as the road makes its way northward. Looking out the side window and focusing a little closer reveals how fast we're really going, the trees more of a blur, the details outside more elusive and difficult to focus on. It's about perspective, really. Looking forward into the future, things seem further away, moving more slowly. You can take your time to consider it, to think about where you might be going. Looking around at where you are in the moment, that feels much more fleeting. The pace is quicker, it can be difficult to fully notice all the details before things change. The past, however, is always there, frozen in memory. You have the rest of your life to think about it, reflect upon it. In my case, there is plenty of time to think about the past. Too much time, actually. I wish that I had the luxury of living in the moments, without the specter of the future always looming in the background. Always knowing that no matter what, I always have to leave. People living their lives so often seem to be able to appreciate things in the moment so long as they slow down a bit, building memories at their natural pace, not being on their phones, libtard. For them, there is a beginning and an end. The middle part is life. I would like to take my time for once. Many people say they feel rushed. I feel the opposite. An inexorable exasperation in my seat and watched the sign as it approached with increasing speed, my eyes following it as it passed by. Cedar, Maine. Now that's one of those towns you'll miss if you blink too long. You look like you recognize it? I sigh and nod. You know, that coffee sure is running through me. I think we'll try not to blink when we get to Cedar so I can enjoy the last civilized bathroom for hours. Cedar. Damn it. It takes no time at all to get there. Not enough time to think, not enough time to talk to myself out of the decision fighting to make its way to the surface of my mind. The trucker comes to a gradual stop and a gravel pull-off, heavy tires crunching, air brakes squealing, engine slowing to an idle, everything slowing down. The trucker sets the brake and cuts the engine off, a shudder through the big vehicle implying a little more than a brief stop. He lifts to door latch and half opens the door, one foot reaching for the running board. I'll be a little bit, so feel free to stretch your legs. There's a hint of something in his voice, almost a knowing tone. This guy really is intuitive for having spent so much time alone on the road. Goes with the territory, I suppose. I'll see you in a bit, buddy. There's a hint of a wry, crooked smile on that trucker's face. I'm certain he knows that I am connected to Cedar, and that it is because of Emmeline. I need to make a choice. I look up and see the path to the bench that overlooks the sunrise. It hits me. Did I ever really have a choice today? My path was leading me back to Cedar one way or another. The road, the truck, my thoughts. All of it tied to Cedar. I veer left, cross the road, and step up onto the old wooden stairs to the hearth and home. The steps have a reassuring, organic feel to them, oddly rustic and welcoming. I can feel warmth radiating from the sun-soaked bricks. I think I'm gonna give this a shot. It's almost as though fate led me here, and on some instinctive level I get the feeling that I was heading here all along. My hand closes around the old wrought iron door handle as the sound of Stu Pickles' master foot stir passes by, followed by the bellow of an air horn. As the trucker continues on his own path, the surrounding forest swallows up the roar of the engine, and as suddenly as they were there, they're gone again. There's a magic to this place. I open the door and step into the cool darkness. So this is the thing, right? So basically at this point in the game, what happens is there's been like a huge time frame that we actually aren't explicitly told. We end up finding out later. That has passed between when he left Emmeline on the bench and to where he sees that trucker and decides he's going to go back to Cedar, Maine and try and like meet her again at the bar where he once met her. The fading light from outside momentarily illuminates the room, and the bartender looks up to greet his first customer of the day. Ugh. My eyes take a second to adjust, but there is no doubt. This place really hasn't changed. Yeah, it's still got a million fucking mixes. The present and the past crash together and are surprisingly nearly indistinguishable. The bartender is a bit of an exception, though. His hair is gray, and his face has more lines than when we last met. He sets a glass down behind the old, polished, dark wood bar, and there's a look of growing recognition in his eyes, but that same look is clouded by doubt. This dude used to look like, if you remember in part one, uh, that weird gardening game, like Zoe. It's like a mobile game or whatever. It's weird.
Afternoon. What can I get you?
A beer would be fine, thank you.
You got it.
The bartender smoothly and deftly fills the glass and sets it down in front of me on a plain white napkin, making brief eye contact that somehow conveys the notion that he's decided upon something.
So, just passing through again?
I look up from my beer and look at him. There's a small smile and a knowing look in his eyes. His memory is excellent. What do I say? Yeah, literally, drinking all of the substances that hurt your memory. Wow, this is actually a superhuman right here. I was thinking that maybe this time I'll stay a bit longer. This time?
The weather's nicer, that's for sure. You know, I never forget a face. Then again, normally those faces age a little in 20 years. How are you?
It's a long story.
I believe that.
I've counted every day since that winter night.
Why have you returned? Surely you wouldn't have come back after 2 entire decades just to have a drink here at my bar.
I'm not entirely sure, to tell you the truth. A gentle silence fills the air between us as he hands me the beer and I take a sip, clearing my throat. I'm not sure if you'll be able to help me, but I have a favor to ask. Yes, by the way, really important here. A bit of a heads up for people who don't watch my videos all the way through, which is fine. Just warning you now. This makes sense if you watched the first part of my Fare Thee Well playthrough. Because yeah, right now it seems like we're starting in like the middle. We're starting in a random ass part if you only watched the beginning. But anyway, haha, who cares? I'm not sure if you'll be able to help me, but I have a favor to ask.
Shoot.
Last time I happened my way into this bar, do you remember the charming girl in green? Her voice was enchanting, one of a kind, really. Whatever happened to her?
Emmeline? Well, luck would have it, she still lives here in Cedar. Actually, she still comes to help out from time to time here at this old dusty place.
My eyes light up with this very, very good news. She's still here? Even after all this time? I can hardly believe it.
Yeah, she just lives down the road with her husband and young boy.
I feel crushed. I'm not sure what I was expecting, really, but it hurts nevertheless. The bartender must have caught on as he continues.
Does this change anything? I assume you had something in mind.
While it should. While it should, it doesn't really. I'm not entirely sure what I should have done anyhow. Would it be wrong of me to ask of an address?
Well, I would give it to you regardless. It's not necessary. She comes by every morning with her son to help set up for the day. You should come again tomorrow. As I assume you are planning to stay for a while?
Yeah, I'll be here. Thanks, really. It means a lot.
Don't mention it. Anything for an old friend.
With that, I sip my beer and think of the coming events. The fear that she won't recognize me once again crosses my mind, but I push it off in search of a bed to lay my head. Search of a bed to lay my head. Search of a bed to lay my head. Whew, that was loud clapping. Anyway, also, we're old friends with him since when? Like, in the first part, he was just like,
yeah, the girl's up there. I normally don't let people talk to her, but, as long as you're not trying to fuck her, I'll let you say hi.
I nod at the bartender and make my way to a local motel to rest up for the night. Ooh, God, ew. The next morning, my liver missing, I arrive early enough to help the bartender with the tables, stools, and chairs. The worn wood seems to embody the place as a whole, well worn with time and filled with warmth. I take a seat in front of the bar as the old man organizes the rainbow of colored glass bottles behind it.
Calm down, son. You'd think someone with as much experience as you would have learned to deal with these situations.
Saying goodbye is easy, but the returns and the greetings. The old man met my eyes and inclined his head toward the door, making my best effort to keep my door. To keep my door? I know. That's. No, I didn't read that wrong. That's actually there. Making my best effort to keep my door, I notice Emmeline and her son, probably around 7 years old, an inquisitive, blue-eyed boy with brown hair. Emmeline glances around the bar and seems mildly disappointed. Her gaze flits over to me as it would one of the tables. She approaches the old man.
You set up without me?
Sorry, Em. I should have mentioned earlier that I have a new employee in training. He helped me this morning. We still have the stage set up, though. I'll get you some work yet.
Oh my god, I love how, like, we're an immortal dude, and yet we're using it to, like, get nervous over a MILF and, like, work at a bar. What the shit? She looks at me directly for the first time, but there's no spark of memory in that face of casual friendliness.
Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Emmeline, and this is my son, Michael.
Michael plays with the collar of his shirt and averts his eyes.
Hi.
I give him a smile and a wave and then extend my hand to Emmeline. She shakes it. I take a page out of Michael's book. I'm too nervous to meet her gaze directly for too long. It's nice to meet you both.
Right, well, that stage isn't going to set up itself, Em. Why don't you and Michael teach this greenie here the ropes? I've got a few more glasses to clean.
Says the girl in the green turtleneck. Also, that's a shorthand term for greenhorn, meaning a noob. Emmeline nods and gestures for Michael to follow her to the stage. Sorry, I just had to get the mansplaining out of my system.
Have you ever worked in a bar before?
I know my way around one.
Don't we all?
Michael climbs up the front of the stage and seemed to be opening a bin that contained the cables.
How old are you, 25?
I'm a little older than I look. I'm assuming he's done this before. Emmeline walks beside the stage to retrieve a broom and a dustpan before starting to sweep behind the speakers, amps, and some other sound equipment. Emmeline looks back at me and gives me a genuine smile. Not the practiced friendliness of polite greeting, but something with altogether more substance. Michael and I finish setting up all of the relevant chords.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. Well, it's about time. I have to get Michael to school.
Emmeline waves goodbye to the bartender and takes Michael's hand, walking toward the door. By the way, how old did we say? So, because, like, I'm just trying to... it's not like she had to have had a kid as soon as we left, but assuming, like... Because this game took place in 67 in the beginning, but now there's been a time skip, which means it's been roughly 10 years, assuming he's 10. So, just kind of for theory, for, simple math's sake, that puts her at 32, and now it's 1977? Interesting. Emmeline waves goodbye to the bartender and takes Michael's hand, walking toward the door.
Same time tomorrow. Have a good day.
Emmeline pauses before she reaches the door and freezes in place. At first I wonder if she had forgotten something, but then she turns and I see it. That spark of remembrance, the warmth in her eyes that signifies memory. Now she knows who I am. She remembers that night, 2 decades past. She brings a hand to her cheek as Michael tugs at her shirt.
Mommy, are you okay? I'm all right. Let's get you to school.
I sigh and lean against the worn mahogany of the bar, and I can hear the bartender pouring a glass of something. I didn't bother to turn around. My eyes were fixed on the road, watching them drive away.
Well, you couldn't have been expecting anything else, could you?
No, I couldn't have. Do you want to hear the story of that winter night?
Yeah, why not? This is for you, by the way. Looks like you could use it on the house.
I love how he's like, buddy, come on, you couldn't have really expected anything more. But then he's also like, ooh, but damn, you are down bad. You are so down bad. Here, take a. This is my favorite mix. It's just 4 different vodkas in one. I turn enough to pick it up and take a sip, but my gaze remains on the road. Emmeline is long gone by now, but I can't bring myself to look inside again. Not just yet. I don't know how much you remember. Em and I left after talking, really bonding, at one of those tables by that window. I gesture in the general direction with a finger extended from my hand that held my drink. The brownish fluid sloshed around behind the intricate lines in the glass, and I realized that it was the same kind I had used that night so many years ago. We walked out of this place together and explored the town after dark. We sat on that bench overlooking the snow, talking of ourselves. Such a simple yet mindful thing, sitting close and talking. That's a fascinating word choice, actually, because that actually does kind of display somewhat of their, like, youthful egoism. Not talking to each other, not talking at each other, but talking of ourselves. I didn't think she'd take it seriously, but she did. She listened, and in the end, she identified with it. Of course, you know Emmeline's story, how she got here. She has every bit as much wanderlust as I did. I take a sip from my glass and turn around before looking into the cup. Or had. I guess everyone else like me eventually grows out of that phase. I suppose a part of me realized it then. I didn't want to break her heart, so I just left. Ultimately, I shouldn't be surprised that she didn't remember me at first. I'm sure she's had to deal with her share of people walking out of her life. It was only one night.
It was a long night.
The old man puts a comforting hand on my shoulder.
You know, I didn't think Emmeline would ever settle down, but her husband, well, you would like him. He runs the Tri-County newspaper. Takes the family camping often in the summer and autumn. You couldn't ask for a better life for her or her son in this town.
I nod and hand the bartender back his glass. Thanks for the drink, and thanks for the cover earlier. Do you really need some help around here?
That I do, that hurt.
I sit, motionless, knowing what must come. I need not distract myself. I have a very important decision to make. It's a simple decision, really. Something a normal person wouldn't even hesitate to answer. Do I stay, or do I go? The wind quiets down, all things listening intently to my every word, my every thought. I guess, in reality, the more important question is whether or not she would care. Does she remember me? That moment earlier, it gave me the feeling. But how could she forget that magical night? Out of my many years of existence, that's the one memory that I'm certain to never lose. Maybe she just did what I never could. The air turns frigid, humid. Wait, humid and frigid at the same time? Someone shakes me out of my lull, my trance, my thoughts and memories. Rain. It's raining. The sky is pissing, but it's not shitting. I enter my home, the heat helping warm my clothes and my skin. I look at the things around me in appreciation, wiping the bar, cleaning it as if it were my own. December 2002. Holy shit, we've jumped a huge amount of time. Also, this is a post 9/11 world, dude. Ah shit, dude, airport security is gonna be rough. Also, so playing this game thus far up to this point, I have to say, some of the saddest, most melodramatic, darkest parts of it remind me of when BoJack Horseman gets sad and no longer funny. A lone vocalist in a violet dress takes the stage at the hearth and home. She appears to be close to Michael's age, who is now 24. The girl gazes at the expectant faces all around her. A hush falls over the crowd as she leans into the microphone, and her face betrays not a single emotion, but pure wonder. It's almost as if she's somewhere else, remembering better times, preparing to sing to herself in a world that stood still, hanging off for every word. The young woman starts to sing, and the meager audience is immediately captivated. She begins softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Come over the hills, my bonny Irish lass. She just starts. Come over the hills, dude. She goes Motown, but really intense. She does screamo Motown. Her voice is beautiful. Remember your true love forever. It wraps me around the dark air of the old bar. I knew this song, I knew it well. Though I've heard it sung better before, I admit. Oh my god, it sounds like a line out of a fucking, oh my god. Don't blink on the band name now. Black Hole Sun. Soundgarden. That sounds like a line from a Soundgarden song. Spoon Man. She just starts singing Black Hole Sun, won't you come? She has one of the best voices I've heard in my life. I've only been this absorbed in song once before. The voice of the girl in the blue dress grows and grows and grows. Oh, this dude's got an expansion fetish, does he? Only to fill the air with complete emotion, feelings seething with energy. Like her voice is an endless flowing spring, and to listen to it is to drink and drink and drink again. It's nice to feel this way one more time, even if it's not as strongly. The girl in the blue dress continues to sing. When she finishes Red is the Rose and prepares for her next song, she takes a fateful step back from the microphone. Her skin beads with sweat. Her chest heaves up and down to the rhythmic beat of her exhausted heart. Her posture is tired but proud. Her breath short but steady. Her eyes somber but bright, vibrant with fire. Her clothes on but off. Her hair short but long. She steps back to the mic and keeps on singing. Ooh, damn, just keep on keeping on. Across the bar stand the current employees of the Hearth and Home, Candace and Michael, the latter having taken the job his mother once held to pay for his education. That's sad. Also, but also, like, so this is Michael. This was the 10-year-old boy from, like, earlier, and now here he is, looking like a fucking he looks like Washington Irving. What the hell? Candace and I are having a lovely conversation, but Michael's unwavering attention is set on the young performer. I think Candace is the old bartender who is now dead, of course, because when we last saw him, assuming it was 1977, or maybe not, but yeah, like, dude's dead, dog. Candace tries to grab her employee's attention, but has little success.
Mike? Hello? In there?
Candace gives a defeated sigh and waves a hand in front of Michael's face, jolting him back to reality. Oh, sorry, Candace. What did you need? Candace laughs at the young man. She's clearly embarrassed him, so it's no surprise that his face has become several shades redder than some of the wines behind the bar. Ha ha!
Michael! Michael!
Returns from his waiting duties. Candace gives him a good long stare and he blushes again.
I know she's pretty, but please do try to pay attention to our patrons, okay?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, no, Candace laughs the way her father used to sometimes laugh, with her entire body, hands on her stomach and leaning back. Michael turns away from his boss and back to the singer. The young performer begins the last verse of her song. The song's end is met with a quiet yet suitable applause. I feel reminiscent about my similar experience in the very same bar 35 years prior, and smile in spite of myself. I suppose an idea to the young man across the bar. Why don't you buy her a drink after she finishes her set? Also, that's some interesting math. So 35 years prior. I guess that makes sense. The game starts in 67, we're in 2002. That makes sense. Usually whenever there's a 7 or a 2, or a 7 or a 5, usually 2 is also not far behind. Why don't you buy her a drink after she finishes her set? That's ridiculous. I can't do that. I don't even know her. And how could asking possibly
hurt? Besides, you don't need to know her to become friends.
I'm nothing more than a stranger to her, though.
Ha! Now that is ridiculous. As my father would say, strangers are just friends you haven't met yet.
Yeah, so, you know, any strangers out there? Want to buddy up? But what if... Mike, you can make excuses till the sun comes up when you're blue in the face, or you can ask the lady to have a drink with you. Michael stops his protesting and considers the words his companions have shared with him. For a moment, he looks as though he plans to ignore the advice he's received. However, one quick glance at Candace, and I confirm that no is not an option. I guess you guys aren't giving me a choice, huh?
Absolutely not. Now then, let's talk strategy.
Candace and I share a laugh while Michael looks on, terrified at the prospect of whatever scheme Candace has in store.
Mike, that's the end of the set. Get over there and ask her to join us.
Candace, are you sure that's a good idea?
Of course it is. All of my ideas are good ideas.
As Rosa finishes the final verse of her set, the dwindling crowd offers up a surprising applause. After the applause dies down, Michael approaches the stage with an ounce of reluctance. Rosa, who's gathering her things, notices him and welcomes him with a greeting, catching him somewhat off guard. Candace was right. I can hear them, though just barely.
Oh, hello there. You work here, right?
Hello. Yeah, I work here. That classic awkward Michael charm is second to none.
Well, my name's Rosa. What about you?
Oh, me? I'm Michael. Rosa tucks her hair behind her ear.
It's nice to meet you, Michael.
Yeah, you too. Rosa waves and begins to walk away. Wait, excuse me, Rosa? Rosa turns back to face Michael.
Yes? What is it?
I was wondering if you're not busy, if you'd like to join my friends and I for a drink?
Well, I haven't got any plans, so count me in.
Okay, but here's why this works though. It's because he said friends. If he was like, "Would you like to join me in a drink?" The brusque individualism of it would turn her off so much, dude. Michael is clearly surprised that the answer came as easily as it did. Really? Rosa stifles and giggles and smiles.
I haven't got any other plans, and I'm sure you and your friends will be fun.
Michael's face lights up with joy. In that case, we're sitting right over here.
What are they saying?
Quiet, they're coming.
Oh, Michael is laying down the moves, I see.
You're having too much fun with this. Candace lets a carefree laugh out.
I'm not having enough fun.
Hey guys, this is Rosa. After some quick introductions, Candace makes everyone drinks.
These are on the house.
We all cheer for Candace's hospitality together.
Thank you, Candace. That's too kind of you.
I listen as the other three around the table share their stories, occasionally pitching in my own experiences. Michael and Rosa are fast friends, and by the end of the first hour, the pair get along as if they'd known each other all their lives. The bar's patrons dwindle until we're the only people left in the building, but even after everyone else is gone, we stay, sharing stories of loss and of hope, of dreams and regrets. Rosa begins to tell her story, and her eyes light up with a childlike happiness.
When I was younger, all I ever wanted to do was go to school and to study music. It's always been my passion. So I worked at it from the time I first saw a future in it until I'd realized the dream. But
the light in her eyes fades into a quiet sadness.
When I finally made it to music school, it just didn't feel right. I'd worked so hard for so long, year after year, but the culmination of my entire childhood led me to disappointment. But I was still determined. Never mind that I couldn't seem to make any friends or do well in my classes. Music was still my passion, so everything else be damned.
Rosa wipes a tear from her cheek. Also, whoops, making her sound like Rosa.
I guess that for now, I'm just along for the ride.
Candace raises her glass.
Well, shit, I'll drink to that.
Rosa nods gratefully to Candace and turns to Michael. Michael. I guess I could say I understand some of those feelings. I finished school, but it hasn't really done me much good. As soon as I graduated, I came right back home to Cedar. And I didn't just come back for my mom. Of course I had to, given her health these days, but even if she were in good health, I know I'd still be back here. I kind of feel like I'm in some kind of void, stuck between childhood and true adulthood. Something's holding me back, but I don't know what it is. And I can't, for the life of me, figure out why.
You're a millennial. That's what it is. You lazy, dirty millennial. Ha ha ha.
The idea that Michael was drawn back to Cedar makes me chuckle. In my experience, getting away from Cedar's one hell of a task. Not that Cedar's a bad place, mind you, it just has this pull, for lack of a better word. Candace nods in agreement.
Cedar's always been good to me and mine.
She waves a hand over her shoulder, motioning to the empty hearth and home.
This old girl's been in the family for 4 generations now. My father, granddad, and great-granddad all put their lives into this place, and I'll be damned if I don't do the same. But this life isn't for everyone. Maybe you just need to broaden your horizons, see more of what's out there.
She is like the Winry from Full Metal Alchemist of this story. Michael considers this for a moment. Maybe, but I haven't really felt like my life ever needed to start somewhere. What's so cool about Valheim? Tell me. Hey, by the way, you want to be friends? Remember, strangers and all that.
Then what are you missing, Mike?
Michael slumps in defeat. I honestly don't know. Out of the three of them, I can relate most to Rosa. She seems to feel like there isn't a place where she belongs. Even so, I can sympathize with Michael and Candace. But unlike myself or Rosa, Candace is very deeply rooted here in Cedar, though I've grown to consider her a close friend. We're about as different can get. Michael reminds me of Emmeline, which of course comes as no surprise. He likes his life in Cedar, but he's mindful of his future and where it might take him. I look up from my empty glass, which I had been absent-mindedly turning over in my hand, and catch Rose's eye. She curiously meets my gaze.
So how about you? Do you have any grandiose dreams or aspirations? Any miserable failures that landed you where you are now?
Wouldn't you like to fucking
Pass, and it's clear that we've all reached our limit. The clock behind the bar reads 3:36.
My goodness, I hadn't realized how late, well, early it's gotten. I should really be going.
Rosa stands and puts on her coat.
Thank you all for a wonderful evening. I'm truly grateful.
Rosa, would you mind if I walked you back to your motel? Candace sneaks a wink and a thumbs up in my direction. I can't help but grin.
Well, okay. That's very nice of you to offer.
As the two prepare to leave, Candace begins to clean up while I lean back in my chair and stretch my tired bones. Hey, Rosa, could you just wait by the door? I'll be there in just a minute.
Sure. Sure.
Michael, now standing in front of me alone, turns to me. I just wanted to thank you. Tonight's been one of the most memorable nights of my life, and it's all thanks to your encouragement. There's no need to thank me. We all had a good time. I think it's time I left Cedar. I've spent more time in this little town than I'd intended to. It's the first time I've ever come back somewhere. But now it's time I move on. Life will go on here just as it always has. My journey is far from finished. This place has taught me a lot, and I'd like to think I've given something back. Though no other place will ever quite fill the gap Cedar will doubtlessly leave in my life, I chose to make Cedar a part of me, and I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Did you choose? Did you choose, though?
Maybe I don't need to thank you, but let me anyway. You've always been a good friend to me. Let me do the same for you. Michael extends his hand to me, and I take it in mine. We exchange a handshake, meaningful to each of us in different ways. Thank you. Goodbye, Michael. I take a long look around the cozy bar I've become so familiar with. I see the tables and the booths where Candace's loyal patrons gather after a long day's work. I see the bar where I first met Candace, and her father before her. I see the stage where I first saw Emmeline all those years ago. I see a toilet where I took my first poo-poo, the same stage that Rosa just performed on a few hours ago. I close my eyes and breathe in the familiar sense of pine, fire, and alcohol. I'll surely miss Cedar. I'll miss the hearth and home. I'll miss Candace, Michael, and now Rosa. I'll miss Emmeline.
Oh my god, Rosa is not yours to miss, you little bitch. She's Michael's. Ah, whatever, I don't care.
I'll miss them all, but I'll never forget them. Well, yeah, that generally happens when you miss people. I stand and walk over to the coat rack, which sits beside the door. My coat is now hanging alone.
Aw, man, lonely coat.
After putting my coat on, I shit myself, but am quickly halted by the length of a broomstick being thrust in my ass. I know what you're about to do. I never expected you'd stay forever. About 2 hours ago, I figured this would be your last night in Cedar.
Damn, 2 hours ago, huh?
I guess that was still when they were all still just drinking around. Candace looks very serious when compared to her normal, more gleeful demeanor.
Now, after seeing you go just a moment ago, I'm certain.
It's time I moved on, Candace.
I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to stop you.
What is it, then? She cracks a light smile, but gives nothing away.
Before you go, there's something you need to see.
Well, what is it?
Come with me.
Candace takes me by the arm and leads me behind the bar, through a door, and down a flight of stairs into the wine cellar. She reaches to an empty section of the wine rack and produces a large, sealed envelope.
There's a chair over there. Take as much time as you need.
She hands me this envelope and walks over to the door. She turns back to me and looks sad for a brief moment, but then smiles again.
It's been fun. Thank you.
I sit down in Candace's chair, and I look at the envelope in my hands. I run my hands across its smooth surface, wondering what this is. Carefully, I tear open the envelope at its seal. Inside are 3 smaller envelopes, each marked with a date, 1967, 1987, and 2002. Oh, so we were 10 years off. The second time we see Emmeline with her kid, with Michael when he's 10, or something. That's 1987. Okay, so it was still a 7. I start with the envelope labeled 1967. Inside is a letter, handwritten. The handwriting is excellent and unmistakably feminine, as handwriting usually is.
Hello, stranger. 2 nights ago, you swooped into my life. You shared with me the best night of my life, and then you were gone with more mystery than your arrival. For the few hours we spent together, all seemed to be right in the world. All my cares had gone away. It was truly blissful. And then you left so suddenly, so abruptly. You never even said goodbye. The magic dissipated instantly. My bliss shattered, leaving only pain and confusion. The night that we shared, why did we share it? Why did you come into my life, if only to leave hours later? Please don't misunderstand me, dear stranger. I'm not angry. I don't hold anything against you. I only wish I could understand why that night happened. I was sure that we were both so happy, but when you left, I began to have doubts. Had I done something wrong? Were you not happy as I thought you to be? Of course, thinking back to it now, it all seems a bit silly. It was one night. Nothing gained and nothing lost. I'm sure you had your reasons for leaving. I'm glad it happened. I'll always remember it. However, dear stranger, should I ever see you again, though it seems doubtful, please help me to understand what that night meant. I have an aching desire to know. To be honest, I'm not sure that you will ever read this letter, but I take comfort in knowing that it will not matter if you read it or not. This letter doesn't really mean anything. All I've written here is just the result of one impossible yet undeniable experience, the ramblings of a young woman. My dear stranger, I wrote all of this to ask for an explanation, but it is now clear to me that I will never receive one. You don't owe it to me, so please don't feel as though you do. I'm happy enough to keep the memories of that night precious without anything more. So, my stranger, although you never said it yourself, I will say it now. Goodbye, Emmeline.
It took me a few moments, but eventually I was able to reach for the second letter, dated 1987. 2 years after the fated 19, I trace a finger over the now familiar script of Emmeline's handwriting before reading her words.
Dear young man, I didn't want to believe it was you. Why would you return after just leaving me there?
But your face was unmistakable. I'm sure you've heard the expression about not having aged a day.
We usually reserve this for women too vain for the truth, or people who've recently had plastic surgery. But in your case, you actually haven't. You looked exactly as you had all those years ago. I hadn't expected you to return at all, after you'd left me. For a while I was left to theorize, and I let my imagination run wild. What are you? Some kind of alien in human skin. A super advanced machine, a vampire. And then I remembered one of the things you had talked about, the legend of an eternal wanderer. At the time, I dismissed it as drunken rambling. And then I saw you, just yesterday. It had been 2 decades since I'd seen you. Memories fade, but I had my first suspicions when I saw you with Michael. You were helping each other with the audio cables. You might not have even recognized it, but I saw clear admiration in your eyes. Admiration and more. Envy? I guess if you really are to live forever, you could never know again childlike wonder and curiosity like Michael could. And then I saw your reflection in the window as I was leaving.
Alright, just clearing my throat. Anyway.
I recalled that time we frolicked around the city in the snow in that moment, and I knew it was you. And now there's the matter of your cover. If you truly intend to work at the Hearth and Home, then I'll see you again. Believe me, the temptation is very real to reveal you, what you are. But what exactly would that solve? No, it's better to let bygones be bygones. I'd gain nothing by revealing you, and it would just cause you to leave again. I'm sure you're used to that process by now. I considered asking you what occurred in your past travels. Who else did you meet? Anyone famous? How long have you been around? The things usual people would ask someone like you. But honestly, the numbers and faces of the past matter less than what you've felt. I've been on the other side of it. Your emotions, I know what you felt. I'll admit that I hated you for a while, after leaving me on that bench, but now I understand. I forgive you. I hope one day you find a place, or more likely a time, that you can flourish in. With as much loss as I've experienced, yours could only be worse.
I wish you the best, stranger. Sincerely, Emmeline. She signed her name in that familiar script. I could feel the pressure of tears welling in my eyes now, wishing I could have spoken to her. If she knew who I was, then I could have apologized for leaving her all alone on that frosty bench decades ago. Clearly. Yeah, at least the internal logic of the game is also like, yeah, he fucking left her to freeze, dude! Clearly, she had cared for me enough to not reveal who I was to everyone. At the very least, I had the privilege of making that kind of connection, the only kind of connection I could truly ever establish. To you. I will write to you once again, and this will be my last. I have grown old and feeble, but alas, you are just as I remember you from all those years ago. I am sorry that you'll never be able to grow old. My life, my son, and my family, they have given me joy, just as the night we spent together so long ago did. Candace has been filling me in on all the fun I've been missing, so I'm grateful to her for that. I trust that she'll deliver these letters to you when the time is right. We've had our suspicions for a while now that you would probably leave Cedar soon. It always makes me so sad thinking of your inevitable departure. It's kind of strange we've spent so little time together in our lives, but it seems like that time is so very significant. Over all these years, there hasn't been a day that I haven't thought back to the night we first met. I never have been able to understand why. It's just always meant a lot to me. I did recognize you when you came back in '87, though not right away. I'm not really sure why I didn't ever say anything to you. It just never felt like there was a good time to say anything. You had lived 20 more years. I had gotten 20 years older. I got married and had Michael. Looking back, it was for the best. I did not say anything. It's a strange thing, the connection we seem to have. I would say it is unique, but I can't say for certain whether that is true or not. The time you were a part of my life was indeed brief, without a doubt. That time changed my life. It changed my view of the world, and it changed how I see other people. I'm uncertain, but I think these changes were for the better, so I thank you. I also want to thank you for leaving me that night. I've enjoyed my normal life. I see now this is all I could have wanted. You saw that it was what I wanted long before I ever even wanted it. You showed me something special, and you gave me the chance to live the life that was mine. My dearest wanderer, we aren't very good at goodbyes, are we? But this will indeed be our last. I have grandchildren that I soon hope to meet, and you have a long road ahead of you, so I'll keep it brief. I want you to remember me as who I was, and to you will now always be. So goodbye, my dear wanderer. Travel safe, travel far and long and wide. It may. So goodbye, my dear wanderer. Travel safe, travel far and long and wide. God, this is ending like Saving Private Ryan, dude.
And maybe in another life, in another time, we will meet again.
I am speechless. I sit for a while, stirring in my emotions. I feel empty, but in a good way, at an end, but in the best way. I feel complete. After I walk out of the closet, I come across Candace, alone. She's the only one left. The bar is empty, silent and calm, like some place out of a dream.
Finished already?
Yeah,
And you're leaving now?
Candace. She begins to cry. Hey, hey, everybody's crying here now, bitch. You know I have to. She wipes at her eyes with her dirtied hands. I know. I know. I. I don't want you to go. I have to. You can't leave. We're all still here. I'm sorry. I pull myself away. Goodbye, Candace. I'll miss you. I'll miss you and everyone else. In this dark, dusty old bar. In this sleepy town in the snow. I'll miss it. I'll miss you all. I will.
Will you remember us?
Always.
Thank you. You know, you were like a family to us. To my dad, to me, to the bar, to the town. You really were. I want you to remember that, okay?
I give Candace one last smile before I turn for the door. Yeah, I mean, I guess since Emmeline is obviously not with us anymore, we're heading out. Going to play some Pac-Man in Times Square, New York. Which I guess from this vantage point is the South. She goes back to sweeping, not wanting to watch me leave. She takes a deep breath. Tears drip from her eyes onto the floor. Okay. Once outside, I take a final stroll around the town. Cedar, Maine. At first glance, it all seems so asleep, like it's not alive, but only lays there in a constant state of rest. But I couldn't be more wrong. This town was more alive than any other I've seen. The white snow resting on the frozen ground glowed like the stuff of dreams. I've fallen in love over the years with this town, with this dream. But it's time to wake up. I walk away into wilderness as the sun rises over the trees. I vanish like a ghost from a dream, wiping tears from my eyes. All I leave behind are footprints in the snow that are soon swept away by winter wind. Of all the money that ere I had, I spent it in good company. And of all the harm that ere I'd done, alas, was done to none but me. And all I have done for want of wit, to memory now I cannot recall. So fill me with the parting glass. Good night. And joy. Guzzle, guzzle, guzzle. Be with you all. So fill me a parting glass, and drink a health whatever befalls. Then gently rise and softly call. Good night, and joy be with you all. Cheers, sisters! What the fuck? Oh god, hold on, wait. Of all the comrades that e'er I had, they're sorry for my going away. And of all the sweethearts that e'er I had, they wish me one more day to stay. Please tell me what the poet of this is, so I'm not, like, complicit in this clear ripoff. But since it falls into my lot that I should rise, while you should not, I will gently rise and I'll softly call. Good night, and joy be with you all. Fare thee well. The story of a lonely man. A wanderer, a wayfarer, a stranger, and the sleepy town he left in the snow. One winter night. Watercress. Ooh, are these the credits? I was about to say lyrics. Nice. The Forever Lone Wolf. Ugh. Damn, dude, relate. This was such a crazy game. So this game makes me emotional. I think it makes people generally emotional. I don't know. But holy cow. See, this is the thing about the visual novel, right? It doesn't look like an incredibly high grade, art style, like to the tune of God, like Grisaya, or like the famous visual novels like Grisaya or Katawa Shoujo. Although it actually kinda has like a Katawa Shoujo look to it. And I believe it was free to play. And so like there's this feeling of like a kind of budget-esque-ness to it. But it's not. This is such an original, unforgettable game. And I know this Let's Play was only 2 parts, but Hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Now, we look on to the future, just like she does, at that bench, her eyes looking upward. Love ya! Hey everybody, this is Ryan Sierre, your favorite chocolatey eclair. Thanks so much for checking out my amateur voice acting. Leave a like if you liked it. Leave a comment if you wanna give feedback. Thanks so much.